Okay, my father is Larry Hoover Sr. He's a man with a lot of respect in the city of Chicago and actually across the states. You know, he's actually a 71-year-old. He's a senior citizen, and he's incarcerated in an inhumane situation. And that's part of the reason. Well, that's the reason we're fighting for him to come home. He qualifies under the First Step Act to be released, but because of the reputation that has been made from him, from the powers to be, along with the reputation that comes with him, you know, he's incarcerated on who he is versus what the law says. So we are just asking for the judge to follow the law and give my father a second chance, give him some redemption, let him come home and be with his family and come back to the streets. I mean, he's been on 23-1 lockdown for pretty much 25 years. There's been a little time in between there where he's been able to move around with other inmates slightly, but he's been, you know, held on lockdown for all of these years. That's inhumane. He's 71. He's aged out of criminality. And so we're fighting for him to have an opportunity to come back to the world. That's what it's all about.
Sure. And the whole point of the justice system is that you put people in these places so they can be rehabilitated, not so they could be like kept from society. The whole fucking point of it is so, like, you know, they're made so they can go back out into the world.
Right. Well, it's as though they want him to, they just want him to die there pretty much. They really don't want to give him the opportunity that's there for him, that the law says is there for him. And that's all we asking for. Sure.
So you mentioned 23-1 lockdown. To clarify, that's 23 hours a day in solitary confinement with, you know, the additional one to be kind of more outside. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, he stays in his cell for 23 hours and then he gets an hour to go outside in the cage if he chooses to. But being in Colorado, where it may be cold for parts of the year, it's really 24-hour lockdown in the winter months.
Do you get to see him?
Yeah, I get to see him. I go visit. Like I'm actually going to Colorado, you know, to see him today. But you know, it's a visit, but it's never a great visit to go sit behind that glass and all those the brick walls that surround you when you're in there and talk on that little phone.
Yeah, no, it's a completely impersonal situation. That shit is on purpose. How old were you when he went in?
I was a little more than an egg. My mother was pregnant with me when he went to jail.
Okay. Yeah. So like your earliest memories of him are him being locked up.
All of my memories. We don't have any memories outside of being incarcerated. It's been in the jail since a kid.
Sure. And I want to go back to what you say on the song Jesus Lord, is that you when you were growing up, you kept getting, you know, estimations of when he's going to get out. He's like, well, when I'm out of 8th grade, he's going to come out of jail. When I come out of high school, you know, what was that like, that constant disappointment?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's defeat. You know what I mean? It kind of kills your idea to dream, because you're so used to whatever your dream is being knocked down. And that's been a dream of mine. I mean, I'm still fighting, and as you can see, still trying to push for them, but Absolutely. It just kind of makes you look at things differently compared to saying, I know what's going to happen. You kind of find yourself hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst, because you get so used to it just not going the way you expected it to go, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the media attention his case has gotten in the last year?
Well, of course, I like when we need attention, because we need to bring attention to what's going on. But when the media comes out and do their smear campaigns, and they start off by saying that he's a murderer and he's fighting a drug case that he qualifies to be released from, like, why do you keep coming forward saying that he's a murderer when he's fighting to get off of a federal case that has nothing to do with murder.
Sure.
Like, it's just a smear campaign. Like, why don't they want him to come back to the world and give his voice to the people? He could possibly help change some things in Chicago, but if they didn't want him to come back and help Chicago, tell him don't come to Chicago. Send him somewhere else and let him go and live his life. Let him, go die as a free man.
And give me some examples, because he's done a number of really positive fucking things from behind bars that people like that free men wouldn't have been capable of or willing to do. So like, what are those? Like, save the children, like go over those things for people who don't know.
Okay, so so even before we got to like save the children and the community stuff, he did a lot of stuff in the jail. So when he came to the jails, he stopped the raping of young men that came in there. So he made it peaceful in the jails. There's a lot of guys that came home from jail and changed their lives because of the things that he told them about being a part of society and just getting into the world, not being an outcast of society. That was a big thing. So it's a lot of men that came home that might have went back to the streets, but because of conversations with him and the things that he put into them, they came and became a part of society. They had successful businesses and they operating in the world as a citizen. He
was any advice he gave to other prisoners repeated to you?
Like word for word.
Just like the gist of it. Like, what was some of the advice he would give?
Right now is keep on swinging. You catch more bees with honey than you do with shit. You know what I mean? Just
right.
Like motivational stuff. He gave them advice that if they wasn't educated, he felt like with him not being educated was the reason why he was there. So he school, he was saying how important school was, how important it was to go get the knowledge for anything that you wanted to learn. Like it was pretty much all in the book. If it was something you was interested in, like if there's anything he wants to know, he's gonna have that book sent so he can read and find out about it and be informed. Because if you're not informed, then you don't know when people get over on you and you lose out on things. But he just felt like he passed on how important education was. Like you can educate yourself on anything and become and do anything you want through education. So that's something that he was explaining to them that he also explained to me. But like you say, some of the other things that were being done. So we had a thing called 21st Century Vote. And through 21st Century Vote, it was classes for like sewing and employment readiness, teaching people how to go and how to do an interview and, how to prepare themselves and how to come. Then it was a lot of voting being done, voting registration being done, like over 10,000 voters. Like people went down and shut down City Hall and the stock market, marching on the closing of the schools, the closing of health centers in the city of Chicago, helped a couple different aldermen and what have you get into office. So he was being a part of the community. He was trying to be a positive force in his community, but I think his force was a little strong.
Sure. No, and he did bring a lot of really like positive resources to the South Side that people wouldn't have even been aware of at the time. And he did go in for reasons as well, but I think people get into the situations that they're in oftentimes because they don't see any other choices. And with politics being the way it is, like, do you think he would have gone the path he went down had he had any better options to provide?
Well, I mean, like you see right now, when you grow up in a society or in a community where you don't see much opportunity, like you're not really seeing the availability of being able to go to school and become a lawyer or a doctor, or not even knowing that if you were to go get a job as a bus driver or some type of city job, that you could provide and do pretty good, and you see the opportunity to follow what looks like is that's working in your community as far as pimping and hustling, that's back then. But and as time moved on, selling drugs, like we're products of our environment. Like our environment provides us with the opportunities. If our household hasn't been in that part of society, who's going to teach the kids in that household to be a part of society, to go to school, or tell them what they can be? So yeah, it's a lot that goes on in our communities. It's just that we're just a product of our environment, and not knowing and being educated about certain things or knowing what's possible, we go with whatever we see we can grab. We go for the low-hanging fruit. And a lot of time the low-hanging fruit is crime. And crime is just to survive. It's not because we want to commit crime. We feel like how we go get the things we want without crime, because McDonald's and those little jobs, we don't, they're not gonna get us enough money to get what we want. And that's bad that a lot of it is about wants and not needs. But as being human, it's stuff that you want. You want you want to get what you need and what you want.
Yeah. Like what's we're only here once. What's the point if you're just gonna like strive for the bare minimum? What kind of fucking life is that?
Yeah, that's not life. And we see what life looks like. It's all in our faces. It's on the internet, it's on the TV. So you want what you see.
This is actually a pretty decent segue. On Kanye West's first album, that entire first song, like We Don't Care, is about that fucking concept, either selling drugs or working a legit job and like trying to flip that money, or just the whole concept of doing what you have to do to get the things that you want. I can imagine Kanye looked at, your dad's situation and saw it relatable to his own. He has been a very vocal supporter of you, of your father. You were actually on his last album, Donda, on the outro to Jesus Lord, which for my money is also one of the best like Jay-elect guest verses. But so how did you two get connected? Who reached out to who?
Well, Kanye actually reached out to me through a friend of mine. I had, with him being from Chicago, like we've been like, just say 6 people away for a long time.
Sure.
And, we just connected, and through those connections and him being here from Chicago and knowing about my father and the people that he's been around, knowing about my father and actually knowing me and him wanting to make a change. I'm so happy that Kanye cares about the underdog or the person that they want to let me see, what does Kanye say? He doesn't want to be what's that when they cut you off the internet and just get rid of you now?
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but it's like
pretty much he's not against the people that will be blackballed. He looks out for the people, the underdog, and the people that will be blackballed. Like he don't really believe in that. So, it's a blessing that he feels that way, because he didn't have to reach out, to me to do this. He didn't have to reach out to my family to help my father, to help put his plight out here to the world, to help with attorneys. He didn't have to do any of that. So Kanye is just like, it's a blessing to me and my family, because he did it on his own. And it's just a beautiful thing. And it just happened through mutual friends. And after meeting through mutual friends, building a relationship on top of that.
Were you at the co-headlining performance with him and Drake last month in LA?
Yes, I was. Yeah, I was there. It was a sight to see.
Tell me about that night, like from planning it to it actually happening to the awareness it brought. Like, what was your experience?
It was kind of like a dream come true, because it was ups and downs. It was a journey to pull it all together to make it happen, and to knowing that it was going to happen and leading up to the day, and kind of working with Kanye, because he works different from anybody else. The planning that somebody else might need to do what they do. He kind of, I'm gonna do this, and you look up and it's done, you know, to not knowing what's going on with him and getting there and seeing what the setup was, to
Right.
coming in there with all the people. And the moment when it really hit was sitting upstairs in the suites, and everybody had their lighters on in the dark stadium with the smoke flowing through there. It was just like, you know, it was unreal. It was it was unreal, man.
What was interacting with Drake like? What was his take on the situation?
You know, Drake is kind of laid back. He's more of like, so his relationship is more with James Prince, and I've met Drake plenty of times, and
Sure.
you know, he just felt like whatever he could do to help, you know, the situation out. He knows
Right.
that Jay Prince and my father are friends, and I'm also friends with Jay Prince. So he's like, you know, whatever I can do to help out. So he just was.
And he also knows what it's like to only like be able to see his dad through a fucking plate of glass.
Okay, I didn't know that his father was once incarcerated.
I mean, according to everything I've read, like it was in Memphis or some shit, but I might be completely wrong about that. I should have looked that up.
I know one thing I do see, that he has his father everywhere he goes, and I would love to be able to go places with my father.
Oh yeah, I would. Yeah, that's definitely, you know, the things that people take for granted. So, you know, in the event that your dad does get released, what would be the first thing that you would do with him, like outside?
If he was to get released, what's the first thing I would do?
Yeah, what's the first thing you two would do together?
Wow. Well, first, you know, I would hug him, because I haven't touched him in a very long time. And I used to push him away when he would try to hug and kiss me. So I would hug and kiss him. And then after that, it would be whatever he said he wanted to do. You know, I wouldn't make plans for him. I would let the plans be whatever he thought that he wanted to do. As long as we can make that happen, we go do what he wants to do. I've been able to move around and to a certain extent do what I want to do. Maybe not everything, but I've been able to do what I wanted to do. So I do whatever he felt like he wanted to do, whether it was eat, go to a movie, go rest, go to a beach, whatever it is he wants, that's what we do.
What has, because you got kids yourself, right?
Yes.
What has your experience with your father, how has that changed your, you know, your moves as a dad yourself? Like, how has that affected the way that you're a parent?
Well, it's for one, for sure, it made me make sure I didn't do anything where I could be incarcerated and taken away from my kids.
Sure.
You know, it's a crazy situation to be, I imagine from his point of view, to watch a kid grow up from sales and from a sale and from the payphone that you call in on. I mean, I just tried to do what I can to be a father. Like, I take kids to school, I pick them up. I've been going to ballerina practices, football, baseball, basketball, school plays, like trying to do everything I could. Daughter, daddy dances, just
there you go.
Trying to do everything I can, even to the point of now, trying to do everything I can for my son, but letting them know that you go get cut off if you don't focus or try to do your best in school. So, you know, I'm just trying to do everything I can to be everything a father should be, support him, because I brought him here and I'm responsible for supporting him.
Yeah, I'm a father myself, and that's like half the battle, is just showing up for those things and being present for them. And they can like put that away in their memory. It's like, all right, he was there for my plays, he was there for my sports games.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work.
Oh yeah, it's you're literally like molding a person over time. You're like slow cooking a human.
Oh yeah, and like you say, it's a lot, especially when you're in battle with the internet and people that's not regulated, putting all type of ideas in your kids' head, especially my youngest, well, my daughter too, because she's not that old yet, but you know, the internet puts a lot of information out there and there's nobody to check the information. So they get things that's just people's opinions and people's thoughts, and they take it as facts. And, That's not good when you're trying to raise a son, and the things that I'm saying seem boring and uninteresting compared to what some entertainer or somebody might be telling them.
Yeah. Well, I think the first time I heard your dad's name and it stuck, and I'm sure I'm not the only one here, is on the Rick Ross song BMF. Like, I think I'm Big Meech Larry Hoover. How did you feel about his name being mentioned in that context, almost like glorifying that lifestyle? And you're kind of on the other side, like.
Yeah, that was at that time I wasn't really feeling that. I was glad that he was keeping his name alive, and
Sure.
we got together at some point after that, and we got past that. I didn't like it because it said one thing and my father was fighting for his life. But like I said, I did like the fact that he kept his name alive. I was hoping that we could move forward and, maybe do some business to show real appreciation, for who he felt like he was, to even mention his name in that,
Sure. And, and a lot of like shit has been talked about Ross's like authenticity or whatever. Like, number one, he's a fucking artist, and you're not gonna give shit to Robert De Niro for not actually like killing motherfuckers as a taxi driver.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, but he is an entrepreneur. He has a record label. He has a chain of Wingstops. Like, he is, at the end of the day, a good example.
And what you're saying that, like, we thought that we were gonna have a Wingstop. We just never got around to that. Coming through here from him. But as far as when you say people are artists, it's kind of crazy. It's gotten to the point where it almost seems like you're not received as a good artist if you're not actually doing the stuff that you say. And
right,
that doesn't really add up to me. Like, nobody's getting it. Like, how does being a shooter or a killer like make you a good artist?
Right.
I don't understand. It just makes you a target to take away from all the hard work and the success that you've made.
Yeah, like, best case scenario, you're literally telling on yourself. But who are you listening to? Like, who are your favorite artists growing up? Let's go with that.
I listen to a whole lot of music. I listen to, like, when I was growing up and I first started listening to music, it was like the radio stations, we had the video shows, and they kind of play everything. So I would hear East Coast, West Coast, whatever was coming on the video channels. Then as time went on, like, when I finally got out of Chicago and went away to school, then I started listening to more East Coast. I mean, I listen to everybody. I like KRS-One. I like Ice-T. I like LL Cool J. Time went on, I like Mos Def. I like 8 Ball MJG. I listen to gangster rap. I listen to hip hop. I listen to conscious rap. Like, I just like a lot of everything. I'm not really feeling the gangster rap as much because I worry about how it influenced my son, and I just can't relate to some of the stuff that they speak on now because I really feel like it's other options. And if it's music in the story, let it be music in the story. Don't tell people that it's real life, because people are reacting to it, and subconsciously in their mind, when they get to situations, they react as off of what they heard and what's been playing over and over in their head.
That is the interesting thing about kind of growing up in the Midwest, because I grew up in Oak Park. So, like, first suburb west of Chicago. I could take the blue line downtown at any point. I was doing that since I was like 12. So for all intents, people ask, I say I'm from Chicago. But it was always interesting growing up because we kind of got like everyone's music nationwide because we were in the middle of it. When I think the first album that was like really fucking huge and I was paying attention was like 2001 by Dr. Dre. And that was as big in Chicago as it could have been anywhere else. And then, Get Rich or Die Trying comes out. That's in New York, huge in Chicago too. And then, we got our first real hometown hero was like Kanye. And then, at least like on a mainstream level, we had like Common and,
Yeah,
Do or Die and
yeah.
shit before that. But
But yeah, on the main, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Just that
yeah,
everybody was,
closest we had was like Bone because they were in Ohio.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's kind of true. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anybody, which I
Yeah,
probably will. But
I was like mid sentence. I'm like, oh shit, I'm missing somebody, aren't I?
yeah, but I don't know who that is at the moment. Somebody will, let you know.
Someone's gonna let me know. I'm gonna have a couple angry comments.
Yeah.
Like, what about? I don't know.
Yeah, Lupe or somebody. It's gonna be somebody.
I mean, Lupe's first 3 albums are like top 5 albums for me. So
yeah, okay.
But shit. What do you have going on? So the concert happened. What else do you have going to bring awareness or to possibly like bring information to the judge and get shit moving?
Okay, well, since the concert happened, we're gonna take care of some prison reform organizations and some people with their feet on the ground that's helping us stop violence out here in the streets. So that's one thing that's going to happen. But then, as far as with the judge, we're preparing some things for him at this moment with our team of attorneys to present him with some information that he had that was questionable to him because he was refused without what's the word? Without prejudice. He was refused without prejudice, which left it open for him to bring his case back to court under the First Step Act. So it was under the judge's discretion. So now we have to deal with what the judge's discretion was, the things that made him feel uncomfortable about maybe, well, not uncomfortable, but maybe unsure about releasing my father, although he still gave him an opportunity to bring it back to him. So we're preparing something for the judge, the team of attorneys to take back to him. And at this point, as far as like the people helping in the situation, it's just being aware and knowing that, it's under the judge's decision and it's not the law that's actually holding him at this point. We just need people to know that he deserves a chance, just like all the other guys that were on his case that have been released, because the First Step Act gave them a chance to be released. There's guys at home right now, but because their name isn't Larry Hoover, they're looked at a little bit differently.
He's being held as an example mainly.
Yeah, and I'm fighting for the law to work for him the way that it should,
Awesome. Well, Larry, thank you so much for taking the time out to be on the show. I'm rooting for you guys.
Well, you can go to the Larry Hoover Project to see some of the things on prison reform that we kind of follow and try to get behind. You can go to LarryHoover.com to support with the Free My Father shirts. And on the Free My Father shirt, it's a blank in there because it's a movement. It's not just my father. There's plenty of people with incarcerated parents or friends that you could put in there. So that's on freemyfather.com. And then also I'm on Larry Hoover Jr. I'm on Larry Hoover Jr. _ on Instagram, just to kind of keep up with my movement a little bit. And
sure.
I'm just working to see what all I could do to keep letting people know and keep getting people behind me in this fight, because if the people aren't behind me, they'll just sweep it under the rug and say that nobody's concerned. We want people to holler loud that he could be an asset to the community. He's not a threat to the community.
Yeah, hence the Free My Father. It's like a representative of a bigger problem.
Mm-hmm. It is, definitely.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure, sir. Thank you for taking the time out. Have a great rest of the day. Safe travels. And you have a good one, dude.